Welcome everybody and shalom to this week's Parasha, Va'era, which means "and he appeared." So this week we have been in Tzfat and listened to a shiur given by Ephraim Palvanov. And one thing he was speaking about was the importance of the 4 and the 5. So like within a hand, we have 5 fingers, but 4 are kind of equal and one thumb is a bit different. So always where we have 4, there is a 5th element. You know, like we have the 4 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and we could add the ether who puts them all together. So right at the beginning of this week's parasha, we read the commandment that God gave to Moshe before he went to Paro. And in verse 6 till 8, in chapter 6, we have the famous 4 lashon, or the 4 steps, the 4 words of a Geulah, and we also have a 5th one. So let's get into the text, and then I will explain this a bit more in detail. Lachen emor livnei Yisrael, therefore say to the children of Israel, Ani Adonai, I am the Lord. Vehotzeti etchem, and I will bring you out, mitachat sivlot Mitzrayim, from under the burdens of Egypt. Vehitzalti etchem, and I will rescue, or I will free you, me avodatam, out of their bondage. Vega'alti etchem, and I will redeem you, bizro'a netuya uvishfatim gdolim, with an outstretched arm and in great judgments. So the text continues, Velakachti etchem, and I will take you, li le'am, to me for a people, Vehayiti lachem, and I will be to you, le'elohim, a God. Vidatem ki ani Adonai Elohechem, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God. Hamotzi etchem mitachat sivlot Mitzrayim, who brings you out from under the burdens of Egypt. Veheveti etchem, and I will bring you el haaretz, into the land, asher nasati et yadi, that I raised my hand, latet ota leAvraham, leYitzchak, Yaakov, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Venatati ota lachem, and I will give it for you, morasha, for an heritage, ani Hashem, ani, I am the Lord. So this is the text we want to focus on today. And in this we have the 4 words, the 4 steps of Geulah, the 4 lashonot. We have Vehotzeti, and I will bring you out. Vehitzalti, and I will rescue, I will free you. Vega'alti, I will redeem you. And Velakachti, I will take you. And we have the 5th element, Veheveti, and I will bring you. So let's start with the first one, Vehotzeti. Vehotzeti etchem mitachat sivlot Mitzrayim, and I will bring you out from under the burdens, the hard labor of Egypt. So as we have seen in last week's parasha, after the death of Yosef, there was also a new Pharaoh, and he was a bit afraid of the Israelites, and he put them under really, really hard labor. And there we have the first element. If we see this in the steps of Geulah, of redemption, we have different steps, and the first step is the hard, extreme labor. And we can also connect these steps with the image of Nebuchadnezzar. In Daniel 2, there is this dream of Nebuchadnezzar, and there's this image with different parts. So the first step refers to the golden head of the image, which stands for Babel. Babylon, means literally confusion and is a synonym for idol worship, because this is what happens in your head. And Babel also was the first of the big four world powers that after the destruction of the first temple, that they conquered the children of Israel from out the land. So in this first step, we see that there's a loss of freedom, and the first time if we see they were in the land, they were free, they had kings, but then the Babylonians came and took them away from the land and they put them into slavery. So this is the first thing. And then we have the second thing, which is Vehitzalti etrem me avodatam, and I will rescue you from the slavery. So this second step correspondent to the second part of the image, which are the silver breast and the arms. So this is of course Paras, the empire of Persia, and in this element we have the breast, which is proud, and we have the arms where we hold our sword, or an arrow where we go to war, so we use our arms. So this is the main thing of this empire is proud and also bloodshed. And today we can connect this. Paras also is connected to Yishmael, to the Arab nation, to Islam. So when we have Babel, we read in the Revelation, for example, from the whore of Babylon. So this is a reference to Rome, the Vatican, the Catholic Church, because they are complete full of idolatry. And also in Paras is connected to Ishmael, because Ishmael is called in the book of Genesis Pere Adam. And normally in Hebrew, when you want to describe something, you put the subjective first and then the adjective. So if I want to say little boy, then in Hebrew it's called Yeled Katan. So you have first the boy and then the description of the boy, he's Katan, he's small. And this is the only passage in the whole Bible that the describing thing, normally you would say, if it's called Pere Adam, you would say, okay, it's Adam, it's a human, and the human is Pere, it's completely wild. So, but it's called Pere Adam. So the description of Ishmael is not that he's a wild human, it's more than he is a wild beast with human attributes. So he's more a humanly beast, so to say. And this is not what I am saying, this is saying what God is saying about the Ishmaelites. And this is the second step. And as we see in the story, we have the story of the Exodus. So first they went into slavery, and then it's not quite chronological, but we have a parallel also with the genocide. So the first chapter begins with putting the Israelites into slavery, and I think the last verse is when Pharaoh said that he sent his Egyptian soldiers to kill all the male-born childs. So, and we said that with Babylon, they lost their freedom. And also we can see when the children of Israel, and in this case mostly the Jewish people, were into exile, the second exile, which is Persia. There we have the story of Purim. And Purim also is the story of a planned genocide of the whole Jewish people. So we have this also a parallel here with the genocide from the Pharaoh to the male-born Hebrew childs, with the connection to Paras, with the genocide of Haman. And if we connect this to today's days, then we see also that Ishmael has a lot of hatred against the Jewish people, against Israel, and they, you know, from the river to the sea, Israel or Palestine, from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free, is what they have in mind, at least the radical terrorist Muslims. And you see on that they have also an imperial claim to rule over the world, because they say if they have only at one time in time, they have the power over area. This is under Sharia now, and this is why they can't leave Israel, because it was for thousands of years, it was in the Ottoman Empire, where the Muslim obviously were in power. And this is why they have this real hatred. And also we see with October 7, which brutality some Palestinian terrorist Hamas guys have. This is beyond belief. And this is when you see the description of Pere Adam in wild beast with human attributes, fits completely in this description. And the exodus from Egypt, the first redemption, happened, as I mentioned, in steps. So when we had the first 3 plagues, which were blood, frogs, and mosquitoes, some say lice, but I would say mosquitoes, Pharaoh didn't move an inch. So the second part of the plagues were the flies, pests, and the boils. So, and within this in this group of the 3 plagues, Pharaoh did not let them go, but at least he removed the high burdens that came unto them. So when they were slaved. And if we would connect this to today, we also had just some years ago, we had this thing of Corona. So the world is in slavery at least since the creation of the dollar. So the dead money system is keeping all of us in slavery. But if we are mostly the nation of Ephraim, myself, we are from Germany. If I speak to the German audience now, so after World War II, the Germans were completely come into slavery, and this for the American audience that maybe you didn't know, but the German people are in this slavery under the United States. Since World War II, nothing has changed. Trump, in his last term, he wanted to address this when he had a speech with Merkel in Washington. But there's still an issue that has to be resolved. So, but I think in the last years, if we just take a look at this century, we had 9/11 when the terror increased. Then we had 8 years later, we had or 7 years later, we had financial crisis. 7 years later, we had the migration crisis. And then 7 years later, we were completely in Corona. And I think Corona was the highest amount of these burdens, like we see in Egypt, that they get these really, really big burdens that you can ever imagine. I think for most of the people, especially all the people who did not obey to the rules, they did not get vaccinated, they did not wear masks, and they did not stayed in their home as prisoners. So for them it was the worst time ever. And this, I would connect this also with the high burdens. And then we see in the second step, Vehitzalti, and I will rescue you from the slavery. We see there's still slaves, but at least these burdens were gone away. And this is why I think we are exactly in this stage today, because it's also the group with the pest and with the boils, and this fits pretty good into the coronavirus pandemic thing that we had. So if we would compare this to today, we could have said, okay, the first step, Vehotzeti, and I will bring you out, could also mean in today's days, I will bring you out of this mental prison. So we also heard today, this week, in the Shiur from Ephraim Palvanov, you were talking about a Geulah mindset. So a lot of people still have the galut, the mindset of the exile. You know, when the temple were destroyed, there were no temple, and 30% of the rules written in the law and the Torah could not be made anymore. So they developed kind of exile religion with all of different things. And now we, since 1948, we're back in the land. You see, this is the land of Israel. I'm sitting right here. There you see the mountains of Tzfat and Meron. Maybe not in the image, but right now behind me. So we're back in the land, but people still have a galut mindset and not a Geulah mindset. And for everyone who doesn't know what that means, because these terms normally appear in Jewish literature, or if you are connected to the Torah and the land, then you could also refer this to the Great Awakening. You know, it's getting out of this illness, of this mental prison, the Great Awakening. And like Ulf always said, it's important when you wake up, you have to know what you are waking up. And the biggest thing ever you can wake up is, of course, the existence of the land of Israel, of Jerusalem, of the Torah, and ultimately of God himself, that there's a God that you have just to connect to him. And in this stage, the hard burdens, I think Corona was the climax of this of the redemption we have today. So we can say that the first step, Vehatzalti, and I will bring you out, we have already passed, or you know, depending on which level people are, but this is already happened. This has already happened, and I think we are already in the second step, Vehitzalti, and I will rescue you, where, as we have seen now, the big pressure from Corona has been removed. So then came, of course, the war in Ukraine. But also interesting, for Israel, it was not completely removed, because we see that after the end, if we would say, with the beginning of the war of Ukraine, Corona vanished. But 1.5 years later, we had this big terror event here in Israel on October 7. And the last year, the year in the Jewish calendar of 5784, the year 2023-24, was the worst year in the history of the state of Israel. And this is quite interesting, because we see also when Moshe gets to Pharaoh the first time and requests to leave his people, what happened? He increased the burdens. So the first step will pass. Everyone is happy. Corona is now over. Normal life, kind of normal life, is going to start. And now we had the worst year in history in Israel from the of the state of Israel. And nevertheless, in this week also something really quite exciting happened, that Donald Trump was inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States. And I think, as he said himself, now the golden age begin. And I think this is for us a sign that we're really in the second step, in the rescue step, because Trump is going to, hopefully, we cannot say anything for sure, because sometimes a good man comes into power and because of any reason he changes his mind, and it's a bad thing. But hopefully Trump will keep his promises as he did in his first term, and we see really an releasing from these burdens. Like we have now the deal for the hostages. It's a really bad deal, but we don't know what maybe is behind. And like I mentioned, it's connected to Parasha today, to the Islam, to Ishmael. And I think we also will deal with Iran, with the Iran problem, because Iran is the one who is financing, who is orchestrating all the terrorist organization we had in starting with Hamas in Gaza, now going to us, to Hezbollah, to Lebanon. Now we have a civil war in Syria again. And I think the next stage should be Iran. And I think both Israel and the United States, because the new government of the United States is probably more pro-Israel than Israel itself, they have a big interest to get the Iran problem solved, hopefully in a good way. We don't have to wipe them out. We just have to remove the mullah regime from power, and they has to be punished for their crimes they did. Most of the people in Iran are also, like in Pharaoh's time, they oppressed by the regime. But I think it is a good time to, maybe in the next month, we will see some miraculous big updates from this side. So let's go on to the third stage. Ve ga'alti, and I will redeem you. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great mishpat team, with great judgments. And this was, of course, all the plagues together. This destroyed Egypt completely, gave the until the rest. And when we said in the second group, the plagues, flies, pests, and boils, the burdens were removed. Then we had the next group. We had hail, locusts, and darkness. And in these three groups, also the slavery was removed. They were not able to go. They still had to stay in the land, but at least they were free of the slavery. And I think this is what we experience today, that when sorry, this was the second step with Trump, that the slavery is going to be removed. So with Trump and with all the disappearance of the leftist and the evil person and the media mindset and the narrative and everything, we're slowly are in process to getting really out of slavery. So Vega and I will redeem you. So this was, of course, the real Pesach. You know, Pesach happened before the last plague. We had the 9 plagues. Slavery was removed. They're still in the land. And then they had to keep the Pesach. And then they had the last plague, the plague of the death of the firstborn babies of every Egyptian or everyone who did not the sacrifice of the Pesach, where you take the blood and put it on your door. So everyone was punished, and this last thing corresponds to the third empire, which is Yavan, Greece. And we have in the story of Exodus 1, we have also the midwives. The midwives, before the Pharaoh sent his soldiers to kill all the babies to make the genocide, we had Pharaoh asking the midwives to drown the babies, and they refused to do. And for that, God gave them a reward. But if we see that the water is always connected to wisdom, to Chokhmah, to Torah, to Kabbalah, to high-level information. So, and what was the thing of Yavan? Yavan means hot bubbling. So in Yavan, in Greece, we have the stomach. We have also the loins, which were compared to Greece. And so we have in the loins, this is the source of our creative energy. So if we take this spiritually, we have philosophy today developed to esoteric things. We have all this crazy, truth is not truth, wrong is not wrong, everything is kacha kacha. And the second thing, the second attribute that Greece have connected to the stomach is hedonism. And in today's world, we have, of course, the leftist, socialist Democrats, which have a completely upside down mindset. We know that democracy comes directly from Greece. So today it's not applicated like it was in the old Greece, because you just could have democracy in a small village or a little town, you know, but not on a complete land. This is not how this worked at that days. But today we have this socialist Democrats with a complete upside down mindset, and all the liberal things with pre-sexualization, gender mainstreaming, everyone can do what they want, and this compared to the hedonism thing, you know, all the pedophiles, all the really evil stuff. I don't even want to talk about that. So is also connected to Yavan, to the Bronx stomach and the loins. And then, of course, we have the fourth step, which is ve lakachti, and I will take you to me as a people. I will be your God, and you shall be my people. And this happened in the story when they already were outside of Egypt. This was the giving of the Torah on Har Sinai. And this could be connected, or this is connected to Rome, the last empire, the big empire. No one ever thought that they would survive over 2,000 years in different stages. I will say something about that soon. But Rome stands for fascism and for kind of perverting the law, because we have the fascists, the Nazis, but this idea originally came from Mussolini, from the Italians, and they had it from the Romans, because the fascism comes from the fasces. This was a kind of a stick with some wings, so to say, and the more wings you had on this stick, the more powerful you have been in the order, because Rome works with order. You know, no one ever takes responsibility for yourself like you should do as a living person under God's law. And this system is made that you give always the responsibility a step further. So you were split it, you have the commander, then you have another step, and at the end you have the ground soldiers. And this is the same system the Nazi Germans used with um, power, power and to put power in different positions, and no one was in the end responsibility. The guy in the train said, "I just moved the train," and so on and so on and so on. So this is the Roman thing, and but what Rome really stands for is the scattering, because Rome itself, as we also see today in the Catholic Church, who they scattered until the last corner of the earth. So Rome stands for the scattering. And in the story of the Exodus, this is compared to the bricks and to the straw. Because when, as with I explained with the war of Israel, when Pharaoh increased the burdens, so he said, you have to make the same amount of bricks, but now, from now on, we won't give you any straw. Go and collect the straw by yourself. And what we're reading? That all the people, the children of Israel, scattered around all of Egypt to collect the straw. And if you go out now, wilderness, everyone is kind of on its own. So you're not together anymore. Everyone is collecting for himself the straw. So this is the inner meaning of the fourth galut, of the fourth part of the image of Rome. And then, of course, these were the four main steps. And then we have the fifth. And the fifth is Veheveti. And I will bring you right here into the land of Israel. And we see also after the Exodus, what happened? Egypt is completely destroyed. People are going crazy after this 10 plagues. They are not able to think straight. Everything is destroyed. Their animals, their cattle is destroyed. Their food is destroyed. Their wheat is destroyed. Their houses is destroyed. They lost, I don't know, every family lost at least lost this firstborn child. So they are completely on ground. And now Pharaoh, as if that was not have been enough, comes to the great idea, let's persecute them, let's follow them into the desert, maybe we can catch them. So even though everything was at the end, everything was already done, he still had the idea, no, let's persecute them more. And in the end, the people of Israel went through the Yam Suf, went through the Red Sea, and every Egyptian who persecuted them, who followed them, who was trying to kill them, were drawn in the water, as he commanded to draw all the male childs in water. As you say so, as you want to do to others, this is what comes back to you, his whole people. And he himself was drawn. Some sources say that the Pharaoh was not drawn, he was kind of saved. We don't read in the text, we don't read literally that he died, but we also don't read that he was saved. But some say that maybe he survived to see the exodus of the children of Israel, that they were saved. So, but every other Egyptian, at least, they died in the water. And this is, of course, also in the image. We have the four big kingdoms, but we also have the feet. And the feet is a mixture of iron, of Rome, and clay. So you could say that kind of as Israel is the clay, he's the clay that God is forming and designing. And the clay, the Israelites, Jewish people, the lost tribes, everyone who loves Torah, everyone who's a good person, is kind of connected into the iron, into the Roman law. And this Roman law we have all over the world today, not just in Rome. And we see this with the law case that, for example, Benjamin Netanyahu has from the European court, that they judged him. And this court is built on Roman law, on the Roman statute. And so we could say that clay is the people who rebel against Rome. But if we read the text literally, so we see that when the stone hits, the stone that gets a big mountain hits the feet, all the image is destroyed. And we read that the iron and the clay, the bronze and the silver and the gold is vanished, and it will never be found. So, and we know, of course, that in this case cannot connect the clay to Israel. So I would personally connect this to complete atheism, because if we have Babel, we have complete confusion. We still have kind of a worship. It's a complete wrong worship, but we have a worship. So if we see Paras, they are completely brutal and proud, but they still have kind of fearing, as we see in the Muslim world. They don't have the problem with idol worship. They do other things that also were commanded to the Torah, and but they still have this fear from Allah. They think Allah commanded them to kill every non-Muslim, but this is a different story. But they still have anything. And also in Yavan, in Greece, we have kind of, I would not say that the Greek were complete atheists. There were a lot of people that developed with kind of philosophy and all these things, and we see today with the socialists, they're completely atheists. But the Greece itself had their lot of gods, like Zeus and all the different kind of gods for everything. So, but complete atheism, in my mind, get a real power. We had always atheist people, but a real power just began with communism, when it spread and became a real thing. You know, in China, where we have communism, pure communism, where live 1.5 billion people, they're completely without God, complete atheists. And a lot of the Western world is confronted with atheism. So atheism is a big problem, because when the Nazis were in power, 93% of people were in church. I don't say that church is a good thing, but at least you have a little tiny bit of a connection. And now I would say maybe 40% are in church. And how much of them really know the Bible? You know, the Bible and church, completely different things, but I don't want to get away into detail now. So the last thing, the feet, the iron and the clay. And Rome not only scattered everything, he also, as I mentioned, collected everything. So if we would say what is the last kingdom, what is the last galut, we had Babel, Paras, Yavan, Rome. And then we have Rome 2.0. We obviously it's Christianity, it's the Vatican. But what is the Vatican today? And it's a collection of all the things before. So we have the Babel effect, we have Christianity, we have the Muslim radical terrorism thing. So the Romans were the ones who called this land Palestine because of the Philistines that lived there. And the church, the Vatican, is the one who recognizes officially the Palestinian as a people, and who supports them, and who really hates Israel. Maybe not on the political discourse, but in their self, like Edom, the Catholic Church is complete Edom. They hate their brother Jacob. And they made the agreement in 2019 on February 4, the agreement that everyone, we're all brethren around the world, and he kissed this this Arab guy, I think he was from Egypt. So the church today has a connection with Islam, and if we see the migration thing that happened in Europe, I mean this already started in Germany after the war. After the war, the first who came to Germany were the Greek and the Italian, so they're not that much away from the Germans. So they slowly cooked it. You know this thing with the frog sitting in the water, and you boil the water and he doesn't recognize us, and in the end he's dead. So they put in Germany the Greek, the Italian, and then later on, when they, you know, you have now Greek and Italian restaurant. Now they put in the Turkish, so they also were a bit more far away. So 500 years ago, the Turkish invaded in Europe and came until I think Hungary or Vienna, Austria, and they were enemies. They still the Muslims say that Spain is theirs, even though they just had a part. So, but they put in the Turkish, and then with the migration crisis, things exploded, and under the Syrian civil war, of course, a lot of Syrians came in, but also with them guys from Africa, from anywhere. So guys who have nothing to do with German culture in any way. So then we have the Javan effect. So the Pope is, of course, a socialist. He's a complete socialist. He's coming from a communist background from Argentina. And like we said before, Obama, Soros and Clinton, they made this switch in the Catholic Church, and they put Pope Francis into power. And interestingly, in the last Medal of Freedom, Presidential Medal of Freedom, was given from Joe Biden to Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Pope Francis, and also George Soros. So they are deeply connected. And there we have the Socialist Democrats' Greek philosophy aspect also in it. And we have, of course, Rome is world power, or has this claim for world power. So today we have the United Nations with, if you're here in Israel, you could say the United Nations were only found to ruin Israel. So we have this United Nations thing that is globally. So we have this globalist mindset. So we see now the World Economic Forum, but this globalist is also, like I said, we are already in the rescue stage, is breaking apart. And of course, we have the dead money system, which is worldwide. So, and you can also go even a step deeper, and you could call this fifth galut, not even an increasing of Rome. You could also call it the galut of the lost tribe, because if you see the firstborn losses in the Torah, you had Babel, which is also connected to Edom today. Like I said, the Whore of Babel is the Vatican, is Edom. So Edom lost his birthright. We said the Paras is connected to Ishmael. Ishmael lost his birthright. So then we had Yavan, which also includes, say, sex crimes. So who lost his firstborn right because of sex crimes? Reuven. Reuven was desecrating the bed of his father. And we also see that in the story of the beginning, after the flood, that Ham also desecrated the bed of his father, and even desecrated his father himself. So Ham was not the firstborn, but it's also this sexual crime Greece thinking mindset, and from Ham there came the Canaanites, the Knaanim, and of course Sodom and Gomorrah, where you had the Sodomites. They did pervert everything. They perverted their sexual things, but they also perverted the law. And something, you did a good thing and you were punished because you were doing a good thing. So, and this really also describes good the socialists and Democrats, the left wings, the radicals today. So then we had Rome, which stands for the law, and we had Ishmael, Edom, Esau, Reuven. Ephraim gets the birthright because Reuven and the birthright was taken away. It went to Joseph and directly to Ephraim and Manasseh, and Ephraim was put before Manasseh. So Ephraim was the one who got his birthright. But he also lost his birthright because he could not keep the law. So we see this also in the prophecies which gave Jacob to his children before he died, that Yehudah will have the Mekokek, the, so to say, the law, the staff of law, until the Shiloh comes. And we see that Ephraim had the birthright. So Yehoshua, after Moshe died, Yehoshua were from Ephraim. He brought the people into the land. We see the judges were from Ephraim. And but they kind of get lost in idolatry, and they didn't keep the law, and in the end they wanted to kill his brother Judah. Like we also see the Germans get a bit confused and wanted to kill the Jews in the end. So we have a lot of parallels here in the story. And Ephraim was taken out from the land and he went into exile. So his exile lasts for 2,800, over 2,800 years now. And until Shiloh comes, until Ephraim comes back, Judah still has the law, the rule of the law, because they're also, the Orthodox Jews are also the only one who ran around with the Torah since over 2,000 years. No one else does this. So this Great Awakening, as I mentioned, is just kind of a new thing. We could say this slowly started maybe 300 years ago when they started to go to build America, and then it increased in the last century, and now for the last, let's say, with the fall of the wall and the end of Soviet Union, and with the, it's important to mention this, with the invention of the internet, people have now access to information, and then bam, it collapsed and had its climax also in Corona, when a lot of people woke up and said, what's going on here? And then we have the fifth, which is Judah himself. So Judah got the got kind of we had the King David. He was Jewish. He was real Jewish. He was from Judah. And all the kings were from Yehudah. And when the Babylonians came, most of the tribes were already gone. And the Jewish people came to Babylon. In Babylon, they kind of became the Jewish people. They came back. So when the Romans were there, we had Jews, 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 and Jews were scattered. You had Jews, 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 Jews. No one else had the connection to the Torah. So besides, someone spoke to a Jew and he said, yeah, that makes sense. So, but what happened then? Because of all the persecution, which mainly came from Christianity, from the Catholic Church, but also from Russia and other groups, and Muslims, you had also, but the Jews, you know, you had the Sephardic Jews, they were under, in Islamic countries, and you had the Ashkenazi Jews, which were mainly in Christian, in Edom countries. And at one point, this famous Jewish guy, Karl Marx, which became a Christian, but he still was a Jew, and he his parents were, or his father was a Talmud rabbi, so he was a Jew, and he came on the beautiful idea of communism to get everything is equal. So it's questionable if he himself wrote this manifest or if he had help or someone ordered him to do it. So, but we can say that communism in this form is a Jewish product, because of the persecution. Jews couldn't wait any longer. There was this Chaptai Tzvi, this fake Messiah. A lot of Jews lost their trust into the promise that God gave them to get them back into the land. They lost their trust into the rabbis. And this whole persecution thing, they couldn't wait any longer. So they said, okay, what's the deal? Let's get secular. And the whole thing of atheism spread out, you know. So it was yes, today for a lot of secular Jews, the Hasidic world is a joke. They are completely not connected anymore. So these are the 5 steps, and I just want to mention that we had another verse in Yeshayahu, Perek Shishim, in Jeremiah chapter 60, verse 17, where it's written, "For bronze I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood, bronze, and for stones, iron, and I also make your officers peace, and your exactors righteousness." So, and there we see the 4 main elements: gold, silver, bronze, and iron. And in this verse we had added 2 more. We have wood and stone. And wood and stone, you maybe know from the 5th book of the Torah, from Dvarim, Deuteronomy, where it is written at least at 2 passages that when you're going to come to the land, you're not going to be able to keep the law, so you're going to be exiled. And when you come to the nations, to the exiled nations, to nations you don't know, you will serve wood and stone. And what is wood and stone standing for? Of course, you have the wooden cross in Christianity, and you have the stone in Islam. You have this big giant cube in Mecca, and the Muslims are also often in construction. So as we see in Gaza, for example, now 70% of the buildings are destroyed, and with this great hostage deal, they release for every person 30 till 50 new terrorists. They will come back, and if not something really good will happen, they just start over and they start building, and in 5 years you will have Gaza back as it was. So hopefully this will not happen. Hopefully there's a deeper hidden plan, and we will see that that one day you will walk on Gaza beaches. You don't have terrorism, you just have sun and holy land. So wood is Christianity and Islam is stone. So we also have, before the big 4 empires, the big 4 world powers, we had Assur, which conquered Israel and took all the northern kingdom. And before that, we have the story we're reading this time, last week, this week, next week, and so on, Egypt. So Egypt was a prototype of all the exiles. We had everything together. So then we had Assur. Then we had, of course, Babel, Paras, Yavan, Rome, Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. And if we add wood and stone, Christianity and Islam. So we said we already have connected Babel to Edom, to Christianity, because the biggest confusion religion in this world is Christianity, and we connected also Persia to Islam. And then we have the clay. We have clay, which I said, in my opinion, is atheism, which we can connect to um, socialism, to communism, and this also the Socialist Democrats refer again to Yavan, to Greece. And right now we're in Rome, still in Rome. So we could read this verse a bit different, and I will try to do this. Instead of philosophy, instead of bronze, I will bring truth, pure gold. And for hard work, for iron, I will bring silver, real silver, because in the text, in the Hebrew text, it's written kesef. Kesef means money. So if you see there's money, it's kesef, silver is kesef. Kesef is Geld, money. So, and this is also a thing which is important in the new time. And for religion, for wood, I will bring secrets, bronze, and for tarot, the stones, the law, the iron, but the real law, the Torah law, the good law, the merciful law. You know, the iron Roman law is without mercy. The Torah has a lot of mercy, a lot of mercy. And I will also make your bureaucracy peace. That means you don't have all this bureaucracy thing will vanish, and you will have peace from all of that. And your kapos, righteousness. Because you have if you don't know what's a capo was a recruited human from the concentration camp. And we also see this in the story of the Exodus, because they took capos, they took officers from within the children of Israel and put them above them to give them the orders what to do. And when they increased the burdens, even them were beaten. So like in the capos in the concentration camp, you maybe had a better position, you maybe get a little bit more food, you maybe could have been lived a bit more longer, but you still were a slave. You not belong to the authority. So, and also you have in today's world a lot of evil things just happen because people do not do anything. So if you don't, there is this famous saying, I don't know exactly the words, but it's the idea is, if you don't stand up against evil, evil will win. And this is with the idea of the capos, with the idea of all the people who sit in the offices and they make stamps on stupid things and they don't give you what you really want and they don't care, and you have them everywhere. You even have them if you just call Apple support or something else you want to do, you have just completely non-thinkable persons. So, and with this, I will end with the last words, because if you saw last week's Torah Inside, I was asked what was the idea and I didn't have an answer. But now I would say, it's a bit more longer today. I hope it was interesting enough to listen until minute 48 now. And what is the idea? The idea, if we connect the 5 steps of redemption to today, we see that we have the first step today. It's a great awakening, and we already passed this step. It's Veheveti. I will bring you out. I will free you from your mental prison. So I believe we are really in the second step already. Vehitzalti, and I will rescue you. We are in a rescue process. The golden age that Donald Trump is going to open for the world. We see all the leftist evil person agendas, medias, they already lost completely their power. So if Trump is going to be in office for some month, I think they will they will sanction a lot of things, and people are not able to do anything. Even the court, the Europe court I mentioned with Bibi Netanyahu's law case, even them said if Trump is going to sanction us, then we can close this office. So then we have the third step, Gaalti, in the word Gaalti, Geulah, Gaalti. It's the word Geulah itself, I will redeem you. And this is the third step. And I think if we see the first step, Vehitzeti, the Great Awakening, Corona, this was a preparation. You need to be prepped. You need to be prepped. You have to have a different mindset. You know, in Egypt, they just started to scream to God for help when they were come unto these burdens. Before they had no, everything was good, Mitzrayim, Zetov. They had no need to cry to God. So we need a preparation. And I think a lot of people went through this step. A lot of people still in this step. I think also people never came until this step because they're completely blinded. But okay, we passed this. A lot of people passed this. And I think the second step, Vehitzalti, is kind of a transition. It's a transition step between the old world order as it was and between the real Geulah. So I think the Geulah will be a normal, a physical, a natural process. But I also think if we imagine we will really build the third temple, the presence of God is returning and all this good stuff, we have peace. And I think miracles are possible that right now, we cannot even imagine this. So this is a completely new time, And to go from this dark age, the dark age, which lasted for 2,000 years, the age of Adam, we go from the dark age into the age of peace, into the final century, into the redemption. It needs to be the preparation. You need to have a good mindset, because even though we had World War I, we had World War II. World War II officially never ended, and World War III, which people say, oh, is coming World War III. No, we are right now. We are in World War III. World War III is a psychological war, and this is why you need to survive this war. You need an open mind. You need the preparation, and now you need the transition to go from, because you don't have old, you sleep, you wake up, you have new everything. No, it needs the transition. The Abraham Accords have to be improved. Like I said, Iran has to be taken care of. All the Biden, he gave, I don't know the English term, he gave a lot of bad person stamp that they cannot be judged for anything they didn't even do. So, but we also have, like, justice has to be flooded over the world. The evil person has to be, they have to be judged. They have to be sentenced. So we need this transition step to come into the Geulah. And then we have the fourth step, Velakachti, and I will take you as a people. And this is the New Deal. So we already started the New Deal. Everyone can join us on Zion5777.com. We already started the process, but we still have to have a real New Deal. A real New Deal between Ephraim and Yehuda, the Torah of Moshiach, a new Torah or a renewed Torah, the new covenant, the Brit Chadashah. All these good things that make Israel complete again is when God is officially becoming our God and we officially again becoming His people. At least if I speak about the non-Jewish community. And the last step number 5, is the Heveti, and I will bring you finally to the land. And we have a company called Exodus 2.0, but if we take it a bit more Genau. Then the first exodus was the exodus of Avraham Avinu. God said, Lech lecha, leave your country. So then we had the second exodus. We're now reading the exodus of Egypt, the famous exodus. We had exodus number 3 was the exodus into the Galut, the exodus into the exile, which happened with the northern tribes, then Jewish people to Babylon, but they came back, and then after the Romans destroyed the temple, Jewish people all over the world. So we had the third exodus, the exodus into the Galut, and now we are in exodus number 4, the returning. This started already at the end of the 19th century when the first Jewish settlers came here. Right there behind me there's Rosh Pina. It was of the one of the first Jewish settlements in the at that time's Ottoman Empire. There was no state. Then of course came the state. A big flood of refugees from the Holocaust and from Europe came. The wall fall, and a lot of, also a big wave of Jewish immigrants came in. And now we have, in my mind, if it take it extra exactly, we have Exodus 4.2, and 42 is also a number for the second coming for Moshiach. So maybe it's fitting. It's Exodus 4.2, the great Exodus, where at least they expect to come 5 million people to Israel in the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years. But we say we await at least 50 million people. And some say that even they say that 500 million people out there are really from the tribes, lost tribes. And this 50 to 500 million people to settle here in the land, this could take decades, if not centuries. But this is the last step of Geulah. So the first step, open mind, we passed. We're in the second step, we're in the rescue step. We see that everything, every evil is slowly removed to get us ready for the third and most important step, the real Geulah. And then we will have the new covenant in its complete and total and final. And then we have the resettlement and the building of the land. And if I can give you some last advice, you can implement these 5 little steps right now on your own. Just first step, Vehotzeti, leave your mental prison, leave religion, leave media. Don't watch any fake news. They are destroyed anyway, so stop it. Vehitzalti, leave the state, leave the work, the hard labor, leave the slavery. So that doesn't mean you have to flee now, but think about it, who you are going to give your money with, your taxes, with your work, with your hard work. Think about it. If you want to do the evil work, you want to support the evil work of others anymore. And get your silver, get silver and gold, because we are also shortly before the crash of the whole financial system. Hopefully it will be an orchestrated crash, not a complete going back to Stone Age thing, but get you gold and silver and you be ready. Then you can have your Geulah, Vega Alti. Right now, go to Zion 5777, join the Ephraim team. And then you can do also step 4, Velakachti, and step 5, Veheveti. You can right now study the Torah. This is the first. You already started with almost 1 hour and 10 minutes Torah thing. You can start reading the Torah. You can start to learn the Torah with us together. And then the last step is also a step you can do. Just visit the land. Take a flight, book a flight, come to the land of Israel. You don't have to move tomorrow to here. But what you can do in this great world is you can have a visit in Israel. So, and I think that was it for today. That were the 5 steps of Geulah that happened in the past. if you now tomorrow you're reading the Parasha, maybe you have this in mind, the steps of the Geulah, and also an implication for our days. תודה רבה ולהתראות. See you next week. Bye bye.